Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Emily.
I'm Joan apart.
And we're coming at you. We're here for a new episode of the Get Offset podcast, episode number 200.
Hell yeah.
Been doing this that's almost 4 years.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see the growth. This podcast has done more than I ever could have expected it to do. And I just want to give out a quick thank you to those who've listened over the years and hopefully still are.
Yeah. No, again, like when I was looking through the episodes in preparation for this, I realized in going down the list of episodes that I've pretty much kind of listened almost since the beginning. Cause every time I crossed a certain episode name and I was like, oh yeah, it would start to vividly, I remember that episode, what you guys talked about. But yeah, a lot of people I've met through listening to the podcast, really grateful. And I love the humanity that's found, not just gear, but there's really something in the community that when you guys talk about some of these topics that I think other podcasts or other just really don't get to the heart of.
Yeah. Thank you. That means a lot. And for all of those who are listening, we still have reviews on iTunes. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify. Video episodes are actually now available on Spotify, which is pretty cool. I
was wowed by that. I was like, wow, they're doing this? This is awesome.
Yeah. They're not all up there, but many of them are. I do have an upload limit on my internet, and every month I exceed it.
I've done that a couple of times. It's like, hey, you're about to. Oh, you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, well, I always love it when I get the email on one of the last 2 days of the month, and you've used 90% of your data for the month. Success.
TikTok.
Get my money's worth, god damn it.
I'm clocking in and clocking out.
Clocking up. I'm not giving you anything for free. Yeah. So it's amazing. I'm just really, really thankful for it.
No, you guys really worked hard on this, and the way that it has blossomed and created a community that's part of it, not only the Discord, but also the demos and stuff like that. You have a lot to be proud of. You've accomplished a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. Don't know what I was thinking starting a podcast, but here we are. But I was reading some data, going through some data this week, and did you know that currently 64% of music festival lineups are all male built? 64% of the bands either only have men in them or it's a male performer. 64%.
I mean, that's kind of feels like it's common.
Yeah, it's come a long way. You think about Woodstock 99. Woodstock 99 had 3 female performers, one for every day of the festival. Alanis Morissette, Jewel, and Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, the tokens.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe there were some women in some of those bands, but nothing is really sticking out to me when you think of the performers. But then, even if, say, Kid Rock had performed and he is a woman on drums, it wouldn't have counted because Kid Rock is a solo performer.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, when you're putting women on your bill, hey, we got one. Okay, we're good. We met that quota. We're,
Quota.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
I don't know how intentional it is still, but it used to be quite intentional. We already have a woman on the bill.
They'll leave us alone.
Even at a lower level kind of show. We have the token girl band or whatever. And it wasn't even, it was taken less seriously. Yeah. I mean, I've heard this going through, I'm sure it still happens. I just don't know if people will go out and say it.
They won't say the quiet part out loud, you mean?
No, they try not to. But I was reading some data from the bookmorewomen.com website, and it is getting better. At least through 2021, it had been getting better. Back in 2012, when they first started tracking this, and what they do is they look at the show posters for all the major festivals in the United States, and then they look to see where are the women. And they're the ones who will make those posters. It'll be a GIF of the default poster, and then they'll remove all the male names and just see how many women are left. And that really makes it quite stark because, one, you notice a lot of the top billed acts are just completely gone.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of trickles down from there. Which, you know, when you look at younger bands and people who are learning music, it's a lot more equitable the farther down the pyramid you get, in that kind of way, or the further up, I don't know, whichever direction you start at. And then there are just so many more hoops that women have to jump through to get the kind of success to get, you know, mid to top billing on some of these festivals. So you look, and some genres are more receptive to women, folk, for example, and to the point where a lot of women are kind of characterized as folk music, regardless of their genre. The same way a lot of Black artists are categorized as hip hop, when that's not what they are.
No, and it's unfair to do so.
Yeah. You think of that first Santa Gold album, like that's just an indie rock album, but she's Black, so people kept calling it hip hop. I'm like, oh, I don't see how. You don't see the problem with that? Like, female fronted is not a genre. That's women have been saying that since at least the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I think also, if I think about bands, and again, I don't want to butcher too much when I say that, like Skunk Anise, it's like you have like a rock band, but it's fronted by a Black woman, which I don't see much. Like if you think Cult of Personality and Living Color around the same time, it was very hard for either women of color or people of color to break through. And
especially
even still,
women of color.
Especially in a genre that they're not customly associated with being a part of. So I definitely think their voices in these areas of music are deafened or quieted when they should be more present today, because I think what they bring to the table is really important for evolving the music in ways that it hasn't before. Like it has become rather stale and bland in many ways. Yeah,
but like, let's look at this data since 2012. In 2012, 82% of the lineups were all male. It gets worse in 2013, 84%, then 81%. 2017, it gets down to 76%. And their goal, this organization, is to break it down just more equitably. Like they would love 50%, like, sure, have your half all male acts, but then we want female, NB, mixed gender bands, obviously. And
LGBT, all inclusive, at least 50%.
Yeah, just make it more, diverse, it look more like your concert goers in that kind of regard.
Of course.
And I think you're not going to sell fewer tickets. I used to work for a smaller festival, and every single year our lineups would be 50% female or NB or mixed gender. It was equitable, and we never promoted that. We never were like, look at our diverse lineup. We just, here are the bands, and people said, that's awesome, and we sold out every year.
No, of
easy.
Course.
It's really easy. But yeah, back in 2012, 9% of the bands were female and 9% were mixed gender. You look at last year, females gone up to 28%, mixed gender's gone up to 9%. Well, it's still at 9%, but that breakdown is more equitable. 58% all male, and then you have the unidentified and non-binary groups in there, making up a small but mighty proportion that's growing tremendously. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, you can see the numbers, how, of course, before where you had 80% or 70%, and now you're talking about numbers that are in the 60s. So there is some kind of movement that's going in the direction where we're having more visibility for women, people of color, and, women of color, and LGBT, non-binary, everything.
Yeah, and I kind of worry that we're plateauing a little bit in that growth, just because it seems like it's gone a little bit backwards. In fact, the number they have in their header right now, that organization, bookmorewomen.com, the header says 64% of the lineups are all male. And if that's this year's number and last year's with 58, that is a bit of a backslide.
It was.
And Pitchfork was talking about this too back in 2017. They said, our music festival lineup's getting worse, as in, are they getting less unique? And I think the answer, just looking at the data, is, these festivals are not extremely diverse. a lot of the big ones that used to be independent, like Bonnaroo, are now run by like AEG. So the big promoter is AEG Live Nation. They're running a lot of the same festivals. They're booking a lot of the same bands.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like when you think of Hollywood and you have a series of movies and they're all fronting Jason Momoa, like every starring role all coming out similar times. It's like you're booking the same people. Like it's not diverse. It's these people again. Like you're totally disengaging your other demographics because you're like, not interested.
Yeah, people used to follow these festivals, but why are you going to follow them if they all have identical lineups? Like 2005, Bonnaroo shared less than 10% of its lineup with Coachella and Lollapalooza, and now Bonnaroo shares 37-ish. As 2017, Bonnaroo shares 37% of its acts with Lollapalooza and Coachella. And that's not just them. They're all becoming more homogenized and the same. And this really took off around, it looks like 2009. So I would love to see, and I think that would help. I think if the lineups were more diverse, then people wouldn't feel so much about like equality being a pie where more for me means less for you, because there would be more opportunities. But that just isn't the case right now.
No, and again, having some of the similar bands with different festivals and situations, like you are missing out on other bands that could be fronting different festivals. So you'll have maybe some of the bands that you like, but you'll be exposed to new bands, which are really what I think is going to be the best thing going forward.
And that's what I love about going to festivals.
No, me too.
I was kind of bummed. I missed a day in, day out festival in Seattle this weekend. I had family in town. But man, their lineup was stacked. It was great. And I'm sure they sold a lot of tickets because it was such a good lineup. And guess what? It was a pretty diverse lineup.
Awesome.
So, I think obviously things are getting better in that regard, but we have a long way to go. And I think there are some pretty clear solutions. But that brings us to talk about some of the solutions are essentially collectivism and organization. And there are organizations out there. You and I both saw a Twitter thread from @Kristiana V. London that was just a bunch of resources, a non-exhaustive list of resources focused on women in music.
Yeah, very accessible, easy to go through. Yeah, not convoluted. It was great.
Yeah, it had a little note about the gist of each one. But Book More Women was one of those. Their goal is really to get equity, especially in festival lineups and more things like that. And then there's Diversify the Stage, which was founded by the woman Anna Lee Medea from Fits and the Tantrums.
Okay.
Yeah, so she found that one back in 2020. So you want to tell us about some of these organizations? Because those two are very much focused on live music. They're not all focused on live music.
No, the one at least that I look forward is Amplify Her Voice, which is also created by the same woman that created this resource, Kristiana London. And it's, I guess, more, you could say, a broader approach to, helping and confront gender equality in the music industry. They're dedicated to helping careers advance for women in music. There's internships, mentorships, volunteering, educational, networking, a lot of creative opportunities. And they give, tools, not just, to support for just work, but also how to thrive in the music industry. They have a weekly blog, album reviews, industry news. They have a Discord server, which I thought was great. They have resources on, anti-sex violence, which was Safe Tour, My Music, My Body, and Calling Crows. One of the other things that they do that I saw, and I looked through their website, they produce free panels and masterclasses to further develop audience's skills, for our audience's skills, host networking events, aspiring music industry workers, professionals. They interviews with women identifying musicians and industry professionals, partner with local and national music companies. They definitely have a global community that's pretty large. They work with industry powerhouses like Universal Music, Warner Music, and the Recording Academy. But so far from what I read, it has a lot of resources that somebody could use if they're looking to advance in the music industry. And I thought it was a really good compiled website.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great point, is that it's not just about what the bands look like, though that's the most visible thing. It's who's actually working at these companies and what do they consider diversity, because diverse voices are going to lead to diverse solutions. And I don't mean that strictly in demographic breakdowns, but when people come from different places and have different experiences, they have different solutions for the problems that we're all experiencing.
Different walks of life.
Things like how can musicians make money? How can we make money? And stuff like that. There's another similar organization that wasn't on this list that's founded by a woman named Candace Newman, and she was a higher up at one of the big concert promotion companies. I'm pretty sure it was Live Nation, but she has a similar organization with workshops. They post about internships. She hires interns, and she likes to outreach to people who love music who aren't necessarily majoring in music business related things. She's like, hey, do you like music? Do you want to be in live music? And you're studying accounting? That we need those. Guess what? There's money. Where there's a place to count money, we need an accountant. Yeah, and things like that, because she sees that a lot of people are kind of pushed out of pursuing their passions. And she tries to find like more creative ways to help people get into those industries, very much focused on women and especially women of color. She's a Black woman herself. Wonderful. And I was talking to her a while back, and she did say that, some of these companies think that diversity is having like a white woman on the board or something. And and sometimes that person is like a relative or a spouse to other people in that organization, which, you probably shouldn't hire your relatives and spouses in general.
Yeah, that's a mess. Like, not a good strategy.
Yeah. I mean, some companies have policies specifically against that, and some don't, obviously. Yeah, so it's the same kind of thing. So amplifyhervoice.org. Let me pull up the Live Out Live website, but that's another great one. I know she's based in California. liveoutlive.com. Nice. Yeah, it's a really cool organization, and you can give to all of these, of course. So those two, they're pretty broad. I mean, it's that those two seem mostly focused on the industry side. But there are others that focus on live music, as we talked about, getting more women on the stage. And then there are a few, including Women in Music and wearemovingtheneedle.org. Women in Music was founded in 1985. It's a long time a resource for women in the music industry as a whole. We Are Moving the Needle is, they say this is their bio, a nonprofit organization supporting all women recording industry professionals, audio engineers, and producers. There was a study in March of 2021 that found only 2% of the producers the top music released that year were women. 2%.
Wow, that's horrifying.
Yeah, producers and audio engineers, actually. That makes it worse.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is wild when you think about there's plenty of success with women producers and engineers. Susan Rogers was a longtime engineer for Prince. Emily Lazar, fellow Emily, she is she created We Are Moving the Needle, and she's a Grammy-winning, nominated 8 times for Grammys, producer, mastering engineer. She's a mastering engineer. I was like, I knew that. So she is trying to, move the needle in progress in the studio. And like I said, when I went to school for music business, and part of that was studio production. And I had to learn some studio production, but it wasn't my focus. And as it became time to pick a focus, you really did see more women gravitate toward the business side and fewer women gravitate toward the producer side. And I don't believe that it is a matter of intrinsic interest. I was definitely interested in studio stuff, but I think I saw more opportunities for myself on the business side because you do what you see.
Yeah, I was trying to think off the top of my head, one of the producers. I don't remember if it was on one of the albums for, was it Manchester Orchestra or Holy Holy? I'm trying to think what it was, but I know on one of those albums that I loved, there was actually a woman who was a producer on that, and her name is not coming to mind right now, but I knew that was basically one of the producers that I definitely knew was a woman on one of those.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one. Feel free to look it up.
Yeah. I figured I'd look that up.
Yeah. So there is, which university? USC Annenberg did a study in March 2021, an inclusion initiative survey. And they go by year. There's so much data in this, I wouldn't know where to start, but the prevalence of women artists across the top 900 songs of the year, it really hovers, like at the lowest was 16.8 and the highest was 28.1. That's only a quarter of women.
Oof.
Only a quarter women. And women are more likely to be solo artists than part of bands. All of those artists, that's 21.6%. 30% are individual artists, so solo artists, and only 7.3 are in bands.
Wow.
Yeah. The only thing is, I don't think that really shows how the difference between women and men in bands, because just in general, being a solo performer is more and more popular. But yeah, you're a little more hard pressed to find women bands in that top echelon of songs, I think. And it's like you can think of like Emily Wolf being in a band. It's still considered a solo performer.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. Hailstorm.
Yes.
That would be a band.
Yeah, that definitely is. I love this.
Yeah. I think Wet Leg, I feel like they're technically a duo, but they fell into band-ish.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's
I like their stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Women working as songwriters. You think of how many women you know who write songs. Most. It's just like, I wrote a lot of songs growing up. Like, just constantly, I knew a lot of more. Frankly, I think I knew more women growing up who wrote songs than men. Exactly. But 87% of songwriters are men on these popular songs. Just wild to think of. So
it's interesting. Obviously, I wonder how much percent of that is gatekeeping, or is that they're more active or getting more opportunities than women, which probably is more likely.
Being a successful songwriter is very relationship driven. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have to have relationships with other songwriters. You have to have relationships with people in publishing, song pluggers. You have to have relationships with producers and musicians. And those are just areas where women, that's where women tend to get squeezed out in these things a lot of the time.
Yeah, we're taken advantage of. Unsafe kind of environments. So going into obviously do songwriting or be heard, and they're getting messages inappropriately from a producer or something in which they're like, hey, I don't know if I really want to do this, or I need to find another avenue, and then they're having trouble finding those other avenues. So that's also part of the scene that's problematic.
Yeah, and a big problem in business in general is a lot of deals are made in places where women either literally aren't allowed, like certain golf courses or strip clubs.
Gentlemen's clubs, yeah.
Gentlemen's clubs, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, nothing wrong with enjoying those kinds of places. But if that's where deals are being made, that makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, less competition. Yeah, less competition for whoever's sitting at that table.
Yeah, and of course, this is not to say women can't write hits. How many hits has Meghan Trainor written? Taylor Swift, Adele.
Yeah.
They're probably... Yeah, so there's no reason for these huge differences other than exclusion. This doesn't happen by accident. No. Maybe it happens because you don't notice it happening, but on one hand, it doesn't happen by accident. There are systems and processes involved that make it harder for women to enter and have success in these realms. But it can also happen because you're not working hard enough to prevent it from happening.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's if you're basically allowing a situation where you're looking for someone to fill a spot in a band, or you're looking for someone to front the band, and you're more looking to somebody you know rather than trying someone new, as far as somebody who is a woman or, you know, non-binary or LGBT or anything, or people of color. Again, you're intentionally choosing to not hire or not engage with people that may add a different element to what you're doing and give more opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And if you're not looking outside of your immediate friend group, to hire anybody, that's not helping anyone.
Hey, new people could potentially be new friends. Yeah, I mean, you could actually meet some people through this where you finally find the person that you're collaborating with that, you know, you write the most amazing music together that you never had before and never would have if you didn't step out of your creative comfort zone or social circle. Like, you need to step out of your comfort zones, because if you just make the same damn record over and over again, I'm sure, yes, you'll have an audience, but are you really enjoying making the same music? I mean, if that is, then fine. But I feel like in some ways, an artist, we have to somehow grow or find new ways, or else, like, what's the point?
I think that you want your music to be immediately familiar, but you also want it to stand out. I mean, there are reasons. That's why Max Martin has, from the past 8 years, the top 900 songs over the past 8 years, he wrote 44 of them. 44. I mean, and that's like not even necessarily the peak of Max Martin. He goes farther back than that. You know, he is a machine.
Way back.
He's a pop machine, and he has been since the 90s. But bringing other people into that fold is a great way to get new influences. Maybe something you didn't hear before is kind of kicking around in the back of their mind. Like, fusing those things together can make really exciting music. And if everything kind of sounds the same, like, frankly, you listen to a lot of like the pop country, and it really all sounds the same. The singers all sound the same. They're all those low tenors. The instrumentation's all the same. The songwriters are apparently all the same. It's frustrating. Yeah. As a fan, to have to hear just monotony. Yeah.
I mean, again, like, when I was growing up, a lot of the bands that I listened to were more rock and male centric. And as I've gotten older, I have gravitated to bands that were more either female fronted or people that were of different diversities. I actually enjoy that kind of element versus kind of what I've grown up with. I find they had unique elements that I had not heard before. And I'm always looking for unique and new approaches to music to listen to. I think over the last couple of years, they were saying a lot of the new styles of guitar playing is coming out of Africa and the Middle East now, which I've watched some of those videos on it, and they're making amazing music.
It's different to our ears, and it makes it feel more inventive.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about art, is that it can grow and change. And if you want to go back and listen to something that is identical to the stuff you grew up listening to or older music, that's out there. But I like to find, I just get more excited about different things that are not the same. But a quick question. Can you guess, this is just a quiz. Can you guess which female songwriter has had the most popular songs over the past 8 years? My only hint is I was surprised.
Okay, it's not Taylor Swift or anyone like that?
It's not Taylor Swift. Wow. She's the third. Actually, she's tied for second with Rihanna. They both had 14. Nicki Minaj has had 19 hit songs.
Nice. Okay.
19.
That's crazy.
Cardi B has had 13. Ariana Grande's had 12. Katy Perry's had 9. And Selena Gomez has had 9.
Wow. That's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So they're out there writing. They're out writing.
No.
It's just not as many. In fact, less than 1% of those songs had only women writers on them.
Wow.
And I bet several, like even Taylor Swift often has male writers on her songs. But there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's none at all. I mean, it's, again, you think about artists that are out there writing music and how many are overlooked. I mean, I can probably list off a few of them, like Jackie Venson, which is a guitar player, singer-songwriter out of coming out of Texas, I think Austin.
Yeah.
And the other one is like Nick West, who's a bassist, and I love her. She played with Prince. So I mean, there's some people of color that I do love their music. The one that I was talking about coming out of Africa, Fatoumata. Was it Dario Wara? I don't
know. I haven't heard that one out loud yet.
Yeah. I tried my best, and I apologize if I didn't nail it correctly. But there is a color show. If you look on YouTube, and she is basically playing this song, and it was amazing to watch her play. I think she's playing an SG, but I then started to explore her music, just directly. And I really did enjoy a lot of what I heard and her singing and everything. So it's good to step out of your comfort zone and boundaries and explore different forms of music. I never would have thought of some of the ways that I was hearing other languages and played with electric guitars in those ways. So there's a lot out there. You just have to actively search for it and want to be inclusive and include it in your circle so that other people can find the joys of hearing these sounds, this music from people that otherwise are stifled by either people within the industry, gatekeeping, or not allowing them to sit at the same table, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So let's do a quick recap of some of these organizations. Live Out Live by Candace Newmans. That's one of them. Do you have the list handy?
Hold on.
I
pull it up.
Amplify Her Voice.
Yeah, it was the one I looked into. I will
Calling All Crows. And they mobilize fans to get involved in feminist movements for justice and equality, which is pretty cool.
There is a Diverse Stage, a network of professionals working to establish more inclusive hiring practices and greater access to opportunities to live music, events, and touring. There is WAMTM, a nonprofit organization founded by Grammy.
We are moving the needle.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yes, I see it now.
Wham, Tam. Thank you. Bam.
Thank you, ma'am. But yeah, Book More Women provides a visual representation of the pervasive gender imbalance that currently plagues music festivals. Start conversations, track progress, and work towards better representation in the future of lineups. Yeah, let me see what other ones.
Book More Women. Did you ever say that one? Sorry.
Yep, I said that.
I zoned out for a second. My brain stopped working.
Fitness Media was one.
Finessed.
Yeah, Finesse, sorry.
Finesse Media. We
are just off today. I'm about fitting the whole, drink right now.
Yo, I was filming a demo. We could just go into what's news. I was filming a demo for the Surfy Trim Deluxe by Surfy Industries. It's a 100% analog, true bypass, stereo tremolo, stereo ins and outs, and 2 modes, a harmonic, and then a traditional amplitude modulation style tremolo. I was trying to film that after, this is so bad. I'm really embarrassed. I had taken an edible earlier.
Oh no. And at this point, Emily realized that she had taken too much.
I took a little too much, apparently, or I took it on empty stomach. I don't know. It doesn't usually hit me that hard. And I was just staring. I felt like I was talking really slowly.
Hello,
and I would stop and I'd be
friend.
Restart the line. I just refilmed it this morning when I was a little fresher. I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, I would be in the middle of a sentence and just stop.
Oh no. This tremolo goes on for days. Oh, look. I love the way that walls paint just like this. You just start appreciating things in your house that you never had previously.
Oh my gosh. Or I was just like playing a little bit too long on a certain part. I'm like, I really like that. Yeah. I'm like, wait, I'm not here to dick around. I'm here to
wait, this isn't part of the song, but I really like this. But wait, focus.
It's a pretty killer pedal. I think that the demo for that's will have been released already, so check it out.
Awesome. No, I look forward to checking it out. Yeah. Especially with that little tidbit.
That's the gist of my what's new. I'm sure there's other stuff, but fair. What about you? You got some exciting things coming up though.
Yeah, no, of course. I thought as one always says, like, hey, I'll take some time off after this last demo and just rest up before I go at it again. But life usually does the whole hold my beer. That's really nice, but that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
What's happening with me is I have a good friend. His name's Brian Hunker, and he's been working with a singer-songwriter that operates out of California, and they go back and forth from here over to California. They're still going to school. And they have been writing and recording music together for a time period, I think probably within the last year. And my friend Brian has been mixing them as well. It's been really great. He sends me them at times to kind of like, what do you think of this? And then like, I guess the one person that he trusts. So we're like going back and forth of like, hey, maybe a little forward in the mix, like stuff like that, just an honest, like, but anyway, their release party is, I think, Thursday, and then they're having a second gig, which is on Sunday. And Brian, for those, release party kind of gigs, he's like, well, I actually want to play drums for that. Like, I know it's short notice, but like, do you? Yeah, I was like that's super
Welcome
short
to
notice.
My world.
I know.
Welcome to my world.
I thought of you instantly, and I was like, oh, I'm doing the Emily Run the Gauntlet.
So, at least they're all going to be in the right key. That's the thing.
Yeah. So I immediately thought of you because the last group of songs that you had to write while you were doing a demo and going crazy. So yeah, I have 5 days. I know it's 3 songs. It's not like it's 19, but still it's just material that I am having to spend time on, dive into. I love the music though. So it's not like I'm making my ears bleed. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, no, I'm actually enjoying, doing it. But this also confronted me with the fact that I thought of at the beginning of the year, I know obviously pandemic wise and this place still being, of course, Florida and not really being safe spaces or anything regarding the virus at this point, nor kind of were we ever. I was like, well, at some point I'll want to at least any opportunities to start to gig again. Like maybe I should start thinking about a small board, not my recorder board, which is, obviously the one that I usually post online. I need to have some kind of smaller pedal board if I want to go out. It's just basically the essentials, right? Yeah. So when I was talking to Brian, he was talking to me about this. I was like, I don't have a pedal board for this, but let me think if I'm thinking about lead guitar, and I only have 2 9-volt power adapters to choose from. Let me, with my limited situation, what 2 pedals are kind of like combo pedals that I can pretty much get everything that I need and cover all my bases for playing lead guitar. So I basically chose the Obled Noise Endeavors XS V2 and then also the Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master. So I brought those in and we had a session which was, I think, Friday, and everything went really well. They loved how it sounded, what I was playing and things I was coming up with, because there's some areas that don't have any guitar stuff at all. So I'm adding a little bit of myself as well. So that also is a unique kind of thing I'm getting to do. And it's one of the things that I thought about this year, and one of the things that I wanted to do. I've played with people in groups or bands, but I've never had an opportunity to play with someone who was a really good friend of mine. So we really enjoy the same music. Whenever we play kind of together, we mesh really well, but we've never kind of collaborated in that kind of sense. So in a sense, I'm like, oh, this is a unique opportunity. I'll finally have some kind of opportunity to play with someone that I'm really good friends with and have fun doing this, and have it be a positive experience and really work hard at trying to obviously try to meet the deadlines of, the time constraints.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Three
a
songs
gauntlet,
isn't
but
so
yeah.
bad.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah.
And it makes a difference if you can like get the guitar stems or just the guitar part.
Yeah. He
One
sent
thing
them
I've
to
been
me.
oh, that's great. One thing I like to do is because with Premiere Pro you can slow down audio but maintain the pitch. I've had gigs that I could not have done it if I wasn't able to do that. But AnyTune is another great app for everyone out there. It's paid. The one thing I like about that more than just putting into Premiere Pro is you can change the pitch up and down by semitones.
Oh, that's right.
Which it makes everything else sound really weird, but then you can like actually hear it in the key that it's now going to be played in, and you can loop certain sections really easily as well. It's a really great tool, and I used it for my last gig, for the country music gig, more than just dropping stuff into Premiere Pro.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good resource and good to know about. I mean, now I'm actually happy to know about that. Yeah.
It's one of those things, one of those tools. And I think before I talked about some websites I used to make charts and tabs. So I'll just try to write everything down because odds of it being in my brain the next day are low.
Yeah, no, I get that. So like as far as the next day, I was going out and doing things on the Saturday, but that evening, once I got, our session was like 3 hours of rehearsing with the artist Juliana and Simone, which the track comes out. It's called California. It's August 19th, in which it would be released everywhere. And I would definitely describe the music. Their sound that they've made is geared kind of, I guess, around towards fans of like, let's say, Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey, Jenny Lewis, The Sundays, Joni Mitchell. It's very much in that vein of style of music. So I've enjoyed it so far pretty well. But that night I told him when I left, and I was like, okay, I'm going to need you to do two things. Can you send me the master track and then send it to me without any of the lead guitar parts so I can hear the masters? And then on another Logic track, I can then hear without so that when I'm practicing myself, I can make sure I'm at least playing it so that with the master and without, I can hear them both, because that track won't be playing when I'm with you guys. So I'm going to need to know. Yeah. So that was really important to me at first. He was like, oh, I'll just send them. And I was like, no. Time is of the essence. I need both, please.
No, yeah. And it's really nice when you can get that. Yeah. Obviously you can't always.
It's not always.
And frankly, I have, rarely had success asking people for those. They're always like, oh yeah, I can get it for you if you want it. I'm like, yeah, send it. And they never do. But
no, Brian is very considerate and also very, very, I guess, intuitive. Like, oh yeah, no problem. Like, and he'll send it over. I've never had a problem with him. Just a joy to be around and just to do music and stuff like that. I think we meet up like once a week or so. If I can't, it's a client or something. But yeah, really, 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 really great guy. His name's Brian Hunker. You can find some of the stuff online. Yeah.
I look forward to hearing how all that goes. I'm sure we'll hear about it next week.
Yes, I will talk about it next week for sure.
But also for next week, we did mention this was episode 200 of the podcast, but by the time I realized that, there wasn't a lot of prep we were able to do. So I think we were both hoping that those who are watching, listen to the podcast this week, maybe you could send in some of your favorite memories from the podcast, maybe guests that we've had that you've liked, topics we've had that you liked, topics that you'd like us to cover again. Because it's been so long, like so much has changed, and how I think I would approach some things we talked about early on. And some things haven't changed at all. Thinking about the episode of Online Trolls. That was a two-parter.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was. There was so much to cover.
There really was. Yeah. And I like how we did that one. We got multiple guests and just kind of responded to, we had them record answers to certain questions. And then Andrew and I kind of discussed their answers and what we thought about them. It was, I liked doing that, Might be a little bit harder when it's not a video, when it's a video podcast and not just audio. Yeah. But not so bad. Not so bad, as they say. But we're kind of running a little bit short on time. I have a bit of a schedule today. So sorry to everyone. This might be a little bit shorter than the usual episode. But please do, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave those moments in comments. If you're not, check us out on Instagram at just at Get Offset and send us a message. And shoot, if you do a little video or something, maybe I'll find a way to get you in on the podcast. Maybe you can record a little bit of something that you like. That'd be actually really cool if you can record a little video of you talking. We'll try to get a few of those in here.
I think that would be great. Yeah, just get some actual fan feedback directly, either video or even if you don't feel comfortable in front of the camera, like just write to us. Yeah, a little audio or something.
Or just write it down and we'll read it. We'll read what you send. Great at reading. Well, thanks again, Joe, for being here, and everybody out there. Thanks for watching / listening.
Thanks for understanding.
Until next time, my name is Emily.
I'm Joan of Heart.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.